Okay. Okay, I call to order the Murray City Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, March 21st, 2024. It is 6:30 p.m. Present this evening are Commissioners Michael Richards, Michael Henry, Lisa Malkevich, Peter Herstow, Ned Hacker, and I, myself, Mary Patterson, am the chair. Excused is Jake Pearson tonight. From staff, we have Zach Smallwood, Susan Nixon, Mustafa Al-Janabi, and Mark Richardson. We welcome the public to our meeting. We are always so grateful when you are here and participate in our meetings. Some etiquette items to review. We ask that you take a moment to silence your cell phones, please. When the time comes to make a comment on an agenda item, we ask that you come to this podium and speak into the microphone because this meeting is being recorded for the minutes and also for the live stream, and they cannot hear you if you don't speak into the microphone. Once the item you are here for is over, you are welcome to leave. We just ask that you do so quietly since we will have more items to discuss. If you are viewing this meeting online on the live stream, the only way to make a public comment is to email planningcommission@murray.utah.gov. If you post a comment in the Facebook or YouTube comment section, it will not be seen. So with that, we will start with our meeting agenda. Agenda item number 1 is approval of minutes. We had no minutes from our last meeting, so we will move to agenda item number 2. Do any of the commissioners have any conflicts of interest with our items this evening?
I'm going to declare a conflict of interest on item number 6.
Okay.
And will not participate.
Are there any other conflicts of interest?
No.
I do not have any conflicts of interest this evening either. Agenda item number 3, approval of findings of facts. Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review the findings of facts and conclusions for Murray Station Apartments?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that the commission approve the findings of facts and conclusions for the Murray Station Apartments with the few spelling errors that we identified in our pre-meeting.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We will move on now to our main agenda item. We have a conditional use permit for KD Signs. Is the applicant here this evening? Okay, great. We will have our staff report by Mustafa Al-Janabi.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start with this one. So KB Signs is located at 5247 South Commerce Drive. It's a sign manufacturing business in the MCMU, which is Murray Central District. So apparently this is what the location of the property is along Commerce Drive on the east side. Gosh, this is where it is located. So the MCMU is in the, I would assume this is yellow. And then it's surrounded by CD zone and 1MG zone. So this is the picture of the site that there is. So according to the site that of this right now, so it has a kind of couple of issues regarding the parking spaces. It is run down, and because of that, it does need to be redone. That is one of the things. The project description for this is based on the application standards, as staff does not recommend the applicant to install any new mixed sidewalk on there, so, because it will be used as is, so there is no need to improve it on the front side. The only thing that needs to be improved is the strips facing that. Parking wise, it needs to be having 3 parking spaces. This is the floor plan of the place and where is it located. They will be including 6 people working in there, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. 2 trucks will be located, and because of the kind of dense parking area, there is an agreement between the owner of the property and KB Signs. As seen, this is another site plan. I added the stuff for parking later on, but there's an agreement between them, and the agreement is a lease agreement for 6 spaces on the north side, located, if I could find it, located right over here. So these extra spaces are located there. And for that, with the staff report, according to the calculations that we did, it only requires to have 9 with what the applicant has. It should be enough to do as is. Access-wise, there is enough access for the property to be entering in. And based on that, there is the findings. If this keeps on working. There you go. So the proposed manufacturing business is located under the land use code of number 3997, which is allowed in the MCMU zone. Conditions will be outlined in the report, and staff does recommend the applicant, does recommend the approval of this based on the 5 conditions shown in here. Any questions?
Questions for staff? Okay.
I think we'll have some discussion about the conditions, but not right now.
Okay, let's have the applicant come up. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Personal address or business address?
Either one.
Okay, Kendrick, I represent KB Signs, Kendrick Shumway. Our address is 5247 South Commerce Drive in Murray.
Great, thanks for being here tonight. Have you had a chance to review these 5 conditions?
Yes,
And will you be able to comply with them?
absolutely.
Great. Is there any additional information you'd like to give the commission?
No,
Okay, thank you so much.
thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'll open this agenda item up for public comment. If you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please do so at the podium. Please state your name and address into the microphone for the record so that your comment, and try and keep your comment to 3 minutes. We ask that you offer new information for your comments, and please do not rehash any already stated concerns. After the public comment portion is closed, we will address all questions and concerns to the applicant or staff. Is there anyone that would like to make a public comment on this agenda item? Have you received any email comments?
No, we have not.
All right, I will close the public comment period and bring it to the commission for discussion.
Madam Chair, we talked briefly in the pre-meeting, and in the report, it talks about the need for restriping and repairing of the parking, and possibly we should add that to the conditions. Any additional thoughts on that, commissioners? Would you like to add, do we want to add restriping and repair, or just restriping is enough? In the report, it mentioned repair. I unfortunately did not go to the site.
When it says repair in the report, does that just mean like resurfacing or what?
Resurfacing, yeah, sorry, I should have rephrased that better. It just means about the resurfacing of the stripes. Because they're kind of,
Resurfacing of the parking lot and
Park-
striping, or
no, the
just,
striping.
just
The stripes,
restriping?
yes, because they
Okay.
kind of run down, so it needs to
Okay,
be
so the
resurfaced.
parking lot is in good shape, it just needs new painted stripes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okay,
Does
so
that
just restriping.
clarify?
Is that, I'm comfortable with that. So
Okay.
then, do we also need to clarify, it's just the parking in front of the building and not the leased parking? Or just by saying restriping, do we need to clarify that in our condition?
Sorry, you're talking, I think you're talking to me, yeah. So the restriping needs to be on the front facing the property on Commerce Drive, not the one that being leased.
Okay.
so,
And just to clarify, we wouldn't place a condition on another piece of property for a conditional use. That would encumber another piece of property, and that would be illegal.
Since we can't impose that on someone else's property, then we don't have to be that clear in the condition. We can just say restripe, and that'd be fine.
Yeah,
Because it would only apply to their
Yeah,
three
it would-
spots in front of their property.
correct.
Okay. Is that clear? Does that
Okay,
clarify?
I'm comfortable, so we'll just add condition number 6, restripe the parking lot.
Okay.
Okay. Right,
Is there further discussion or a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we recommend the approval of conditional use permit for KB Signs LLC business at the property address 5247 South Commerce Drive with the 5 conditions as listed, and add a 6th condition stating the parking lot shall or should be restriped.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Milkovich and a second by Commissioner Richards to approve the conditional use permit for KB Signs LLC business at the property address 5247 South Commerce Drive, subject to the 5 conditions in the report with the addition of the 6th condition to stripe the parking lot. Is there any additional discussion?
Nope.
Okay, I'll take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Milkovich,
Yes,
Commissioner Richards,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Haristo,
Yes.
Commissioner Hacker,
Yes.
and Chair Patterson.
Yes. Okay, congratulations on getting that conditional use permit. If you have additional questions, you can talk to staff about complying with those, okay? Okay, thank you for being here. All right, agenda item number 5, Golden West Federal Credit Union. Is the applicant here tonight? No? Okay, seeing no applicant, I asked the commission, do you guys want to hear this application without the applicant present, or would you like to? It's not, well, it's up to the commission, I think.
Yeah, it's up to the commission. Typically, the commission likes to have a verbal confirmation from the applicant that they can comply with the conditions. So it's up to you if you want to table this until either the next meeting, or we can check and see if this is maybe. Are you here for Golden West? Ah, perfect.
Good timing. We were
Step
just
forward.
wondering what to do. Okay, then with the applicant present, we can move forward with our presentation from staff.
All right, so for this one, it is located along the Fashion Boulevard. There's the location of the property. It is located in the GO zone, general office. So the purpose of this application is the installation of a new monument sign located right there where the sign 1 is. That one is actually, used to be a pole sign. Now it's, when being redeveloped again, needs to be complying with the current zone, which would allow it to go through. Right now, going through with this as a monument sign with the EMC, which is basically the electronic message that would be on it. This would be the proposed sign as is. Width, length of the sign is as said by the code, which should be okay to go with. This would be the other sign that's being proposed. This is not the reason that it's been going under conditional use. It's the other sign, the electronic sign that is. This one would be hanging along the side of the wall. This is the current sign, the pictures of the property and where it is. This is the current sign. That sign needs to be as is. It's a legal non-conforming, so when it's being redeveloped again, it needs to be changed to the current monument sign that you've seen as proposed. Based on that, the findings of the property, the finding of facts would be according to these. It's located in the general office, conditions will be proposed, and they're not contrary to the goals of the Murray City General Plan. These are the 11 conditions, and based on that, the staff does recommend approval based on these 11 conditions. Question?
Any questions for staff? Okay, if we could have the applicant come forward. And would you state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, Ben Olson, 908 South, 2000 West, Layton.
Great. Have you had an opportunity to review the 11 conditions?
Yes, I have.
And you'll be able to comply with those?
Yes.
Great. Is there any additional information you'd like to give the commission?
No, I don't think so. I think they stated it pretty well. I know Golden West is willing to sacrifice a little bit on the height and size so that they can get kind of what they want. And so that's, you know, we have to move it and do all those kinds of things, but they're okay with it, so.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, we will open this agenda item up for public comment. If you would like to make a comment, we ask that you do so at the podium and speak into the microphone. Please state your name and address for the record. We ask you offer new information in your comments, and if you have already heard something stated, please do not rehash any concerns. After the public comment portion, we will address all of your questions and concerns with staff or the applicant. Is there anyone that would like to make a public comment for this agenda item? Did we receive any email comments? Okay. I will close the public comment period and bring it back for discussion.
Madam Chair, I have a question. I believe I was listening, but I think the applicant stated his name was Ben Olson. And on my packet, it says the applicant's Charlie Taylor.
Well, I think he's maybe a representative of,
Charlie Taylor's our permit guy, but I'm actually.
Ben Olson is with Yesco. Yeah,
So
they
represent-
both work with Yesco, so, yeah, representing.
He knows a lot about it. so-
Yeah, yeah.
any further discussion, or I'll entertain a motion.
I wanted just to make a brief statement about condition number 4.
Okay,
Condition number 4, we just state, the sign shall be oriented in a way that is not a traffic hazard or a nuisance to the surrounding properties. I want to make sure that the applicant understands, as discussed earlier in the packet, also, it needs to make sure that it doesn't block the view of the exit, people driving out the exit. And I think it's been made clear in the interactions with the city department. So, okay, I'm happy.
any further discussion? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that the planning commission approve a conditional use permit to allow an electronic message center sign at the property addressed 6007 South Fashion Boulevard, subject to the 11 conditions listed.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Henry and a second by Richards. Sorry. And second by Commissioner Hersto to approve a conditional use permit to allow an electronic message center sign at the property address 6007 South Fashion Boulevard, subject to the 11 conditions. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, I'll call for a vote.
Okay, Commissioner Richards,
Yes.
Commissioner Haristo,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Milkovich,
Yes,
Commissioner Hacker,
Yes.
and Chair Patterson.
Yes. All right, congratulations. Good luck with your sign. Okay, we are going to move on to agenda item number 6, and we will excuse Commissioner Henry. I will just quickly let you know that when we come to the public comment period, we did have many emails that came in after our Tuesday at 1 PM deadline. So those emails will be read into the public comment. If you sent in an email, that will be your public comment. So you would not make a public comment during our public comment portion, because your public comment would be your email that you sent in, okay? So this is a zone map amendment for Paul Dodge. Is the applicant here? Present, perfect. All right, we will have our staff report from Susan Nixon.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
just for clarification, if a resident submitted an email and still wanted to speak, could they take their email away, ask for it not to be read into the record?
Yes, they can not have an email read and make a comment instead, right? I don't know how we would. Okay,
Yeah, they just need to let us know, and we'll keep track of the names as they come
and
up.
then read the emails in at the end?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, thanks. This application is for a zone map amendment request made by Paul Dodge. And I do need to clarify right up front. The notices that were sent out indicated that this is a general plan amendment and a zone map amendment. It is not a general plan amendment. It is only a zone map amendment. And I'll explain a little bit more as we go into the presentation here. But basically, the request is consistent with the current general plan as shown as low density residential. So I just needed to clarify that because there's been a lot of confusion and I think misunderstanding on that.
Ms. Nixon, and there's no need to postpone the item because of the error in the notice, correct?
Correct, because yes, it was, the notice included more than it needed to and not. Correct, we don't need to rehear it.
So the project's less than, if it had been more than, we would
If we would not have included something that we needed to, then yeah, we would have to postpone it, correct. So the properties are located on Bellevue Avenue, 5991 and 6001 South Bellevue Avenue, as shown on the map there. They are both currently zoned R18, which is residential single family, 8,000 square foot minimum lot size per lot. Together, they're just 0.79 acres between the two of them. The map shows the properties are in the yellow, which is all R18. And then here's just some aerials of the homes currently as they exist. There are very few, actually there's really only one difference between the existing R18 zone and the proposed R16 zone. Bottom line is size of the lot. R18 requires 8,000 square feet, R16 requires 6,000 square feet per lot. That is virtually the only difference. As far as the uses are the same, which are, I think you're all concerned about, multifamily, duplexes, whatever, single family only. Townhomes, apartments, duplexes are not allowed in the R16 zone, which is proposed. So here's a comparison of the two zonings, the R18 existing and the R16. You can see the difference is basically 8,000 square feet versus 6,000, and there are a couple of other differences. The height in the R18, a home is allowed to go up to 35 feet. The R16, it's limited at 30, and then the setbacks are a little less. In the R18, it's a minimum of 8 on one side, but a total of 20 between the two sides. In the R16, it's a minimum of 5 feet on each side. That's virtually the only differences. Our GIS specialist here came up with this map that I asked him to do, just to kind of do a comparison as far as the area surrounding. Even though this area is completely R18, as shown on the map here, all yellow, there are a lot of parcels existing that are less than 8,000 square feet. So this map shows the road on the north end is 5900 South, going down to Winchester Street, and it takes in the properties from Fashion Boulevard or 3rd East up to 725 East. In that area, which is all R18, there are 718 properties. Of the 718, 213 are currently less than 8,000 square feet, some between 6 and 7. That's 30%. So when we think about changing the zoning and what it's going to do, there's a lot of properties that are already this size. Here's just a map of the original plat map for the Burton Acres that was actually established and recorded in 1947. So it's an older subdivision. And then we did get some comments and concerns about there not being sidewalks, et cetera, on Bellevue Avenue, which is true. However, as you can see in this map, Bellevue Avenue is a 60-foot right-of-way. It is a public road. There is not currently sidewalk and curb and gutter on it, but there could be. And as you can see, what some people might think is their yard is actually in the right-of-way, if that makes sense. So if the city did decide to come in and improve and install a curb gutter sidewalk, people would probably lose anywhere from 5 to 10 feet of their front yard. They haven't done that yet, but that is always a possibility. I just wanted to mention that, so. Anyway, here's a copy of our future land use map that shows the area. The yellow is low-density residential. It's basically all this area that I just spoke about. And our general plan has some objectives and goals, which we always look at when we are looking at zone map amendments. And one of the objectives is to provide a mix of housing options and residential zones to meet a diverse range of needs related to the lifestyle and demographics, including age, household size, and income. And the strategy is ensure that residential zoning designations offer the opportunity for a spectrum of housing types. I also wanted to just mention, if the zoning is approved to R16, the best-case scenario for these two properties would be to have an additional 2 homes. Best-case scenario. That is the maximum he could do. The best-case scenario would be an additional 2 homes if the zoning is changed to R16.
So that's a total of,
So a total of 4. There's 2 existing homes. Potentially, if they came back and subdivided, they could potentially add another home to the back and have a flag lot. Best case scenario. Also in our general plan, our objectives for neighborhoods and housing, I'm just going to kind of glance over this a little bit, is to protect the character and integrity of the residential neighborhoods, but also to provide, like I said, additional options. And as we all know, real estate market is outrageous. Everything is so expensive that people can't afford to buy property in Murray and to develop because it's so expensive. By reducing the size of the property, lot size required, it does cut down the cost of homes and development. So it is helping that objective and the objectives of the general plan. And then, let's see. So based on the analysis of the application, looking at the general plan, future land use map, et cetera, here are the findings for our proposal. As outlined, there's 4 findings. And then we are recommending that the Planning Commission make a positive recommendation and forward that to the City Council. This is the first step in this process. Planning Commission is advisory board to the City Council. They simply make a recommendation. It would ultimately go to the City Council, and they have the final decision whether to approve or not. And so with that, we are recommending that Planning Commission send a positive recommendation for the project or the request as submitted. And when we did send out the notices, we didn't get any comments back immediately, but as Chair Patterson stated earlier, we did receive some emails since the cutoff on Tuesday, and we will read those here in a few minutes. So with that, I think that's all I have for you.
Any questions for Susan?
can I ask some clarifying questions for Ms. Nixon? So whenever there's a zone change, it makes us all a little nervous. When I first read this, I was thinking 2 properties close together, higher density, they're going to want to tear it out and put condos in. But then and from all of the training we've done, we've talked about wanting to provide a variety of housing, help with a variety of cost of housing. And so I was a little bit concerned at first, but then when I looked into it more, that's why I want to clarify, the very max that can be put here, if they do tear everything down and try to reconfigure the lot with the 2 together, the very max of what we're talking about is, in the end, there'll be 4 homes, and now there's 2.
Correct.
So and there'll be single-family homes. So
Correct. That's all it can
addition
be.
of 2 single-family homes is all if that's the max what they can do.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And Susan, can you just maybe talk about how, when we talk about zoning maps, I know they could only add 2 additional houses, but we're not talking about a site plan or a project, or we don't know what is proposed, right, for just a zone map
Yeah,
amendment.
thank you. I should have mentioned that earlier. When we are considering a zone map amendment, we do not look specifically, we cannot look specifically at a project. So in other words, I did not include any conceptual plans or what have you with this application, because that cannot be considered. It is strictly based on the zoning. So tonight is not talking about, well, how wide would the flag lots be, the length of them, blah, blah, blah. We can't discuss that. But based strictly on the area, which is 0.79 acres, the best case scenario would be for 4 total lots or homes, which there's already 2, so it's actually an additional 2. But we can't talk about the actual project itself.
And Ms. Nixon, again, for clarification, it's not that we can't withhold, we're not withholding information or legally bound not to talk to you about it, it's that legally we don't know what the project is yet. They haven't submitted it, so we've been speculating. So therefore, we can't speculate what might be going on. We're just talking about what we know, the zone.
Right, correct. Yeah.
And just one thing I just want to clarify, the reason for that is oftentimes, in the past, Murray used to require a site plan, and some other cities do require a site plan during a rezone. And the planning commission and/or city council will look at that and be like, okay, we're fine with this type of project. However, Murray has been burned in the past with somebody coming forward and showing something and then turning around and not doing what they said they were going to do at that zoning. So we have now taken the position that we do not accept those, and that the commission and the city council will look at the zone on its own merits and see if it fits within the neighborhood and with the allowed uses and those standards. So.
I gotta ask another question. Dual homes? Not allowed in the area? Okay, so, because I'm just thinking a dual home, you could put maybe 4 dual homes that have 2 families on each side, but no, it would
Oh,
not.
you mean like a duplex or a twin home?
Yeah, twin homes would work.
Yeah, they're not allowed.
Not allowed, okay.
Okay, any further questions for staff? All right, if we could have the applicant come forward. And will you state your name and address for the record?
I am Paul Dodge, 5969, excuse me. I lived in a different address there before. 5969 South 450 East, here in Murray, Utah.
Great, thank you. Is there any information that you would like to give the commission at this time?
I appreciated something that Susan Nixon brought up, which is, I had started this, but it's a major project, but that's how many lots in that R8 area, just in the Bellevue neighborhood and the Afton Avenue area and Wilford Street, which is just directly south, how many homes are sitting on lots that are not 8,000 square feet, which tells me that.
Please do not speak out. There's a way to make a public comment when we open the public comment period. Thank you.
And which tells me that the commission has been empathetic to people who are trying to build a single-family home on lots of that size, okay? And I think I need to emphasize that I am not a developer, okay? I'm a homeowner. 450 East runs along the backside of Bellevue Avenue, and it's a private lane. And there's conflicts sometimes from people on Bellevue that think they can access the private lane for whatever purposes they want. And we were in a dispute over that for 3 years, the beginning of the day we bought our home there. It took us 3 years to resolve that. I have no excuses or reasons to tell somebody they can't use their property in a legal manner, but as my wife and I went over these lots, and I can explain to you if you'd like why we originally acquired these lots, but it had to do with these easements and prescriptive easements and access and protecting the serenity of that private area back there. We recently had one of the tenants in April pass away. He'd been there nearly 30 years. So I kind of curious why everybody doesn't like renters when you've had people in those homes for 30 years. But I understand their feelings, but I don't look at renters as second-class citizens. But get back to my train of thought. We discussed liquidating the properties, but the same thing kept coming up. We could get no assurity from anybody who wanted to buy it that they would not build something offensive near the lane that we have to look at, which is our front yard. Okay? And a lot of people don't realize that private lane is segmented, and each property along that lane has an easement to get to their property. It's kind of a domino effect, but it's not a parcel. We maintain it ourselves. We maintain the utilities under it all the way to 5900 South. We don't get garbage collection down there or anything. So anyway, the only way we could control this situation of what would happen to these properties going forward was if we held the reins. I called on my friend Sterling Tholen, and he is here tonight along with his son Jeff and an engineer, Dale, to answer any of those questions that you might have in regards to construction or engineering or lot layout. That's not what I do. But I would like to just, like I say, my first preference would be to liquidate the property, but I'm not going to get that assurity. And we're not somebody that's going to build something and then just move on. Have to say that I contacted a lot of people in the neighborhood, especially everybody on the lane, and asked for their opinions. Everybody on the lane did respond to me, but I only got a few responses out of the neighborhood in general. And then I started hearing all these rumors about apartments and renters and all this thing. And I'm saddened that the harmony of the neighborhood's been disrupted by this. But I think I'm going to close by saying what I probably would have said. I have a wife and I have 7 daughters, and we have discussions. And it usually ends up with me saying what she said, okay? So I think she's covered the facts of what this area is like and what you can and can't do with the property and whether it's beneficial to the community and the city to move forward with this zoning. I happen to agree that the staff has done an amazing job of being fair about this and bringing these issues to the forefront. So I'm finished. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, as I mentioned, when you come up to make a public comment, if you sent in an email comment, please let us know that you are making an in-person comment so we do not read your public comment. If you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, we ask that you state your name and record into the microphone and that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. We will be timing you and I will give you a 30-second warning when your time is almost up. We ask that you offer new information in your comments and please do not rehash already stated concerns. After the public comment portion of this meeting, we will address any questions or concerns with the staff or the applicant. We are just talking about the zone map amendment, and so we will not be talking about any plans for this property. If you had any additional information I know got left here, the commission will not be reviewing that tonight because it didn't make the deadline for our packet. So that will not be considered as part of our review tonight. Is there anyone that would like to make a comment on this agenda item? Okay, you can come up.
At the last minute, I sent my letter over, but I would much rather read it, if that's possible.
Yes, will you state your name and address for the record and then we'll
Yes, my
find you?
name is Debbie Black, and I live at 5981 South Bellevue Avenue. I'm the property north of the first rental. I am the homeowner at 5981 South Bellevue. My property shares the south fence with one of the two properties owned by Paul Dodge. My husband purchased this property almost 60 years ago. His mom and dad bought their home on Afton when he was 5. That property shares the fence with Constantine Plastic Surgery. Until his death last summer, Ken lived on this little spot for 77 years. Karen's parents cultivated a garden the entire time they lived on Afton, and Ken has cultivated the back half of our property the entire time. Currently, both properties are cultivated by a professional gardener whose name is Tyler. The last couple of years, Paul has allowed Tyler to cultivate the back half of his 2 rental properties. We have been committed to keeping our garden alive and well. We don't charge Tyler for growing on our property. He pays a small amount to help with water costs. Our property provides produce for 14 of the finest restaurants in Salt Lake City area. Wanting more green area in Murray is important to me and to many others. Several years back, I went to court with Paul Dodge to stop the original owners, the Vosses and the Bishops, of the 2 properties. The Vosses wanted to build on the back half of the said properties. Paul prevailed in court. Paul's concerns amounted to additional traffic and additional parking on the lane that he currently lives on. Paul lives in an enormous house and has an enormous park, and they are directly behind me. I am surrounded by Paul. As a homeowner, Paul's properties are maintained and groomed beautifully. In stark contrast, his rental properties are not cared for. Currently, the backyard outside my kitchen window is covered in plastic and bricks and has been for several years. Recently, I asked Paul for permission to hire someone to till the front yard next door. There are many trees rooting and the grass has died. For my own sake, I wanted to make it look better. I feel betrayed by Paul. I feel he
30
hasn't
seconds.
honored what is good for the neighborhood, only what benefits or bothers him. Paul has been very aggressive about purchasing as many of the properties on my street as possible. North of me, Tishner wouldn't sell to him, and he couldn't control his frustration, so he nailed the neighbor's new white fence shut. Then in similar fashion, when the owner of the properties on the other side of the other rental, he wouldn't.
That's your time.
That's it?
Yeah, thank you.
Excuse me, my name is Dale Bennett with Benchmark Engineering and Land Surveying, and I'm working with Paul and Sterling and Jeff on, options on this property. And I appreciate Susan for her explanation that there are only going to be a maximum of 4 homes. But when we were doing the layout, the total property is 0.79 acres. If you equate that to square footage, it's about 34,000 something square feet. If you take 8,000 times 4, that's 32,000. So he's got more property, but because they can't access it off the private lane, the 450 East, they have to do a flag lot. And the flag lots require 125% of the 8,000 if we did the 8,000. And so that's 10,000. And so 10,000 times 2 plus 8,000 times 2 is 36,000, which is just only 2,000 square feet over the 34,000, or 32,000, the 34,400 something that he has. Actually, probably only 1,600 square feet. So his whole goal is to just get the flag lots to work. The back lots will be probably over 10,000 square feet, which is very large, which is, and then the front lots will be probably close to about 7,000 when we did the layout. And so that's kind of the gist of it. Single family, beautiful homes, very low impact because they're only adding 2 additional homes. But I just wanted to explain that the property's got enough area. It's just the flag lot thing makes it require a little bit more than what he has. And so but they're big footprints, and it'll make a nice development, and I'm sure Sterling Sterling has done some absolutely beautiful homes in the neighborhood and across the whole valley. So I just wanted to explain that flag lot situation, and that the total amount of square footage he has is more than 8 times 4, 32. He's got 34,000 something. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hello.
my name is Mark Lurie. I live at 6011 Bellevue Avenue, the property to the south of the two properties that are up for debate. Myself and Debbie Black are the people that will be affected the most by this proposal, because my property borders the properties. Next door to me currently is a rental property, and for 7 years, I have dealt with garbage bags, trash, if they have a barbecue, bones, chicken, hot dogs come over my fence. Currently, there are 5 vehicles parked outside this rental property, 2 of which are parked illegally on the wrong side of the street. This has gone on for 7 years. So I just want to say that rental properties are not necessarily great. So if you add 2 more, 4 vehicles per house plus a guest, 5 vehicles per house. Now you've got 20 vehicles in an area that's designed for, 2 or 3. Also, Mr. Dodge stated that what he didn't want to look at from his house. So very personal, and I understand that, just like the rest of us also don't want to look at what he might build. And he spoke about the harmony of the neighborhood, and is it beneficial to whom? Paul Dodge said he's reached out to the people that are affected by this proposal. He didn't reach out to me. I am directly affected by this, as is Ms. Black. Didn't reach out to her either. So the only 2 people he should have reached out to, he did not. Also, the zoning currently encourages and promotes a family environment. The proposal that he's hoping for provides a varied housing and style and character, which changes, obviously, things. And I believe everything else has been covered with the exception of 8 hours of construction, 6 days a week, banging, nailing, dust in our homes. We leave our windows open, computers, we work from home. Do you want dust on your computer because there's 2 years worth of dust and construction and banging? I'm in the construction field, I know what goes on. Not to mention the 50 construction vehicles that are going to be parked on that road for the next 2 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Carol Willis. I live at 6024 Afton Avenue, which is just around the corner from these properties. I live on a flag lot. And because the engineer has stated that this will have to be a flag lot, I want to give you some ideas of the challenges to me as a person who lives on a flag lot. And I think my neighbors will probably, they may or may not come forward and tell you their challenges as well, but we have had some. First of all, I want you to realize that when you are on a flag lot, your front yard may be somebody else's backyard and vice versa. So we have to be very, very mindful what we put on our side yard or our backyard because it is our neighbor's front yard. That is really challenging. A second challenge is that long driveway. The long driveway is a beast to shovel, and partly because there's one section of it where we have to go at least 40 feet to push the snow off the pavement because to the south is in front of my garage. We have to go past that. To the west is my neighbor's garage. We have to go past that. And to the north, the neighbor in the front wanted to fence their backyard to keep their kids in. Very understandable. But now there's no place to push the snow. So the snow removal is an extreme challenge for those of us that live on a flag lot. Parking is another problem. You may think, oh, 2 spaces is enough, but families have children. Children grow to be teenagers. Teenagers have jobs, they need cars. Your niece may call you and say, I have a summer internship and I need to stay in Salt Lake and nobody will rent me a place for 3 months. Can I stay with you? I have 2 more cars for 3 months and I don't have a place to park them. I have lots of driveway, but it has to stay open because it's a shared driveway. We can't just fill it with cars. So then they're on the street. And my neighbors have informed me that they don't appreciate the cars being on the street. And I understand that. I have no street footage. They're not in front of my house. I have no street footage. I'm on the flag lot. It's in front of somebody else's house. I don't even have a place to put my garbage cans on my side of the street. I have to take them across the street because I don't have a curb. So as you're thinking about rezoning this, I realize that's not per se a zoning issue, but you're clearly not going to make 4 little skinny lots where everybody has access to the street. You're clearly going to have to do a flag lot. And that means all of these
30
challenges
seconds.
will exist for both the people who live in these homes and for their neighbors long-term, long past the challenge of construction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully this won't repeat anything. And my name is Janelle. I live at
Will
5961.
you state your last name?
Oh, Janelle Smith.
Thank you.
You don't know Janelle? Oh, God. Okay, anyway, I live a few doors from the properties being discussed here today. I'm proud to live in Murray, and I purchased this property for the size of the lot, the safety of the neighborhood, and the uniqueness of this area, the country feel, as did, I'm sure, many of my neighbors. I feel that the changes in zoning will change that very reason I chose to live in this area, which is why Paul lives where he does and wants his, and I understand that. You move somewhere to need what you've purchased for, and you hope that you can maintain that. The lots are narrow, and there would be limited parking at the property. We've already discussed that. They've split the properties, some of the properties in there, and they've also done flag lots, which you've heard. And there is a reason that that was changed, that is no longer happening. There's a big reason for that. I think by changing the zoning, it would open it up to more people who are selling their homes and wanting to do the same thing. Granted, we're only talking about this lot, but like you said, once something happens, many others should be able to go forward. Why can't they, if it's already been done once to rezone? Because I'm not sure, I was a little confused, maybe you could answer this. Is the rezoning just for these 2 properties or for the area? So, but it does leave it open, definitely, for many others to want to do the same thing. This area is not designed for high traffic. That's not what it was designed for. Due to the number of cars that we need to park on the street, which was just mentioned, would ruin the uniqueness, the aesthetics, because of all the cars, no matter how nice the homes look, and the safety of the area, somewhat diminishing the value of our home, even though the tax base might be high. However, let's just talk about the proposal in front of us. By adding 2 more homes to this property, and really 3, because of the man who lived in the one home, didn't drive, it will mean that each home has 2 to 3 cars, and then a minimum of 4 to 6 additional cars driving in and out of our neighborhood that is not designed for high traffic. And we don't have sidewalks. I hope we never do. But if we do, that would, anyway, people
30
walk
seconds.
their dogs and their kids and jog and use the street for this, and the traffic would cause more safety issues for those people, and especially with more cars on the street for visibility. I hope that you will take this issue into consideration when making your decisions. And I just wonder, will everyone stand or raise their hand as to who is opposed to this?
No, thank you. Please do
Oh,
not. That's
you can't do that?
inappropriate. Thank
Oh,
you so
I'm
much.
sorry.
Thank
I
you.
didn't realize that. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Hi, my name is Aaron Abeda. I live at 397 East Bellevue Avenue. I'm here today because I'm not concerned at all about what he would build or his integrity of what he would build or anything like that. I have nothing against Mr. Dodge. I think he'd build a fine product there. My worry is there is a lot of homes in that subdivision that have over 12,000 square feet and that will have the ability and make it a lot easier for them to move forward and subdivide. And a lot of us have really nice homes in there. A lot of us have well over half an acre in there. Most of them have well over 0.27 of an acre, which is 12,000 square feet. And it's all that needed to subdivide into two, from what I'm hearing. We understand completely that it's hard to buy a house. It's hard to, it costs a lot to live in the day and age we live in right now. But many of us have spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions, on our properties. And we live in East Murray. We chose to live in East Murray where there's a standard. We have nice homes and expensive homes, and it's going to affect the value of our homes if we have little single-family homes. R16, 6,000 square feet. It's going to drastically affect the value of our homes where we have a lot more property and bigger homes. So that's my worry, and also everything else that everybody else has voiced. So anyways, I appreciate your time, and I would ask a question. Can I ask a question?
You can ask, we'll answer all questions at the end.
Do you know how many homes in the neighborhood there? Do you know if they ever do build a sidewalk in that area? Is the square footage of the proposed lots, is that square footage factored in, or will they still be able to do it if they moved ahead with sidewalks?
Yeah, and we will answer that.
Okay,
after.
and also, why wouldn't we be able to have it, if it were subdivided, why couldn't two of the properties be accessed from the private lane?
Okay, we'll address those
So
questions.
I think that would be a good compromise but there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to be accessed from the private lane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. My name's Doug Smith, and I lived 3 homes away from these lots. I'm sorry, I just got out of the hospital, so I have to bear with me a little bit.
Will you state your address for us?
Pardon me?
Will you state your address?
5961 South Bellevue Avenue.
Great, thank you.
You know, I purchased a home 18 years ago, and I've lived in the neighborhood since that time. Before that time, I lived in Holiday, and my mother was sick, so I came down and bought her home and took care of her. When I first got there, I didn't understand the uniqueness of this enclave, of this city. The longer I've lived here, the more I enjoy how it's been put together and the homes that are in the area. Since the proposal of this zoning change, one of the homeowners in the neighborhood just last Sunday had a meeting with the homeowners. I was just absolutely astounded about how many people and the phenomenon of how many people showed up to this meeting. On your desk there, you can see 29 signed signatures. Do you see the paper on top right there? Of homeowners in the area that has signed. They're right there. You can look at them. Of the 30 people that was in attendance, there was only one person in the meeting that said it was okay to go ahead and do this. I understand underneath the criteria to change a zoning in the city is you have to have the people within 400 feet. Of the 30 people that met, there is 10 people signed within a rock throw of this property that said they do not want this. You know, I find it really interesting that when you look at citizens and what they want in their own neighborhood, And when I read this that says that the planning commission's already recommended approval, don't they take into consideration the homeowners in the area? We have signed letters, you can read if you want to read them, that states that they do not want this to happen and go forward. I can give you the names of the people who have signed it if you'd like me to say that, but I don't understand why one can outweigh the neighborhood. I have a real problem with that. I think the homeowners' rights, they have rights.
30 seconds.
Okay, in closing then, I hope the council will take into consideration of the neighborhood and the signed papers that's in front of you. This change is not for the betterment of our neighborhood. I appreciate your thought process. Thank you.
And just to reiterate, anything that was turned in this evening will not be part of our review.
My name is Kimball Stewart. I live at 6,000 South Afton Avenue, just around the corner. I agree with everything that everybody said. I think, can you pull up the map where you were saying, someone said 30%? So if you notice, if I'm looking at this right, 30% that you're talking about is all south. Really not much in our little area there are living in those under 8,000 square foot area, right? There's already so much traffic in this little circle. I have 3 daughters, they're tiny. It's scary to have people flying through here. I have Amazon drivers flying through there at high speeds. Adding more cars, and I also don't have any problems with renters. Adding more cars typically comes with renters. It's dangerous for kids. The biggest concern that I have is that if we want to have something nice to look at, the private lane behind and the people that live in front, there's plenty of room to build 2 really nice homes and get single-family people in there. I understand that it's expensive to buy. I understand that it's expensive to live. The biggest concern is that we don't need to set a precedent for anybody that wants to build. I mean, there are a few of us in there that have a big enough property we could fit 6, 7 houses in there. It's just not gonna be good for this city over time, especially this little block, to allow this to be a precedent that we can continue moving forward. I'm in real estate, I understand how it works. I understand the idea of, maximizing your square footage. But really, the point here is that they want to build homes that are beautiful to look at. They want to beautify where they're looking out their front window. That can easily be accomplished by building homes that are beautiful, that have plenty of space, that aren't going to have problems with flag lot issues, that aren't going to have problems with street parking. It seems pretty simple to me. I mean, there isn't one real valid concern or comment not stating that we should just build 2 nice homes there instead of 4. So that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carolina Choa. My address is 5951 South Bellevue Avenue. So I'm a little disappointed because I was really hoping to see some of the project. I understand now that you said you don't take that now and you don't review that, because to me that would be, for me, the most informed decision about this. Without that, it's like you mentioned too, you've been burned because people have changed. So what guarantees that now that this proposal is not going to change right now, right? Right now you say it's maximum 4. What I keep looking back to, it's this single, which I appreciate some of the clarification, but there's still prevailing information, even on your planning, chapter 2, where it describes the property the zoning 1-6. So if there's still an issue with what this is supposed to be, right here, I'm reading it from your website. Single-family, medium-density residential, intended to provide varied housing style and character, PUD as conditional use. So if this is incorrect on your website, I mean, sorry, that's part of the issue with this, is like, I don't know that it is going to just be limited to what is being proposed. So that's really concerning to me. And again, I guess I was hoping to see what the plans are really to make a more informed decision. I understand what you're, as city planning, decided to do your own process, but I don't know if that's more beneficial, detrimental for us as people living there to really understand what's going to happen. Again, I don't want to repeat anything everybody says, but I totally agree with what everybody has said. It's a main concern with this change, so thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sean Mason. I live at 5916 Bellevue Avenue. I purchased my house on Bellevue Avenue 22 years ago. Was looking for a R18 property and specifically found this neighborhood at that point. We have great neighbors. We have a great neighborhood. There's people that have been there much longer than I have, new neighbors that have moved in recently that are fantastic. I'm kind of disappointed in the planning staff's recommendation to go forward with this process. In looking at the Murray website and the general plan, it's listed that 2% of properties in Murray are R16 zoned. To just go ahead and recommend this, based on one applicant, I think is a poor choice. And I think would be a poor decision. Years ago, as people have mentioned, flag lots were put in on the street, several of them, and they are out of place. This neighborhood has a great character. It has a great livability, other than the missing sidewalks. My kids have grown up here. They walk around the street, they ride their bikes, they ride their skateboards, they play basketball in the street. Traffic will be an issue. The Murray General Plan lists preserve and protect viable residential neighborhoods. I think by denying this request, you would go along with what's stated in the Murray General Plan. That's the latest one that I saw, 2017, I believe. There are a lot of reasons, like people have mentioned, that this isn't a great fit for this neighborhood. And it opens up a door that we really don't want to open on that street. We don't want to lose what we have. I may be selfish. We found a great neighborhood. We don't want it changed. You called it an improvement if this went through. I don't see this as an improvement. I see this as a loss for the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I speak again, just say one thing, if you can?
My name's Julia McMillan. My address is 5994 Bellevue Avenue. And I did send an email, so I'll just talk. Is that okay? Okay. So I live directly west of the properties, and like other people have stated, I have children that roam the street, a dog, day and night we're on that road, but they got really good street smarts now, because if cars come and you got to get in the curb. But I feel like what I've read about Murray City's goals is to allow for more R16 medium density housing so that we can offer places for people to live. And if we have more cars, they'll be parking in front of my house. I'll be a participant in a lot of that traffic, but I feel like it's really important that we move away from some of our deep traditions here in Murray. And I am a McMillan, like my husband's ancestors were pioneers here. You know what I mean? Like I haven't moved. I mean, my husband, I obviously married in, less than 10 houses from where his great-grandfather grew up, right? So I know about the tradition here. But I feel like sometimes our tradition can stop us from progress and stop us from allowing things to change that will actually add. And there's just always fear, right? We just have a lot of fear about change. And I just wanted to be one of I'm the minority, I'm the one of the 30. That's it's okay, build the houses, it's okay with me. I think it will add to the neighborhood, it will bring more families in. My kids haven't had very many opportunities to knock on the door and see if a neighbor can play because it's aging here in Murray. And so it would be awesome if we could get more people in and more families with children, and I don't care, whoever moves in, it's fine. But I just wanted to be part of the represent the minority of the neighborhood that says it's okay to build these properties and have things change. And if more houses on the block want to do it, I'm okay with that too. So I'm not just going to be here and say yes to this one. I'll say yes to all of them because I think change is okay. And there's not very much space here in Murray. We're a landlocked place. So where can people go? I mean, when I go visit my sister in Eagle Mountain, I have to like take a bucket of chicken and, a lot of audiobooks because it's so far away. So I just really appreciate being in Salt Lake County and having a place to live. And I love Murray and I want to encourage more people to move here. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
It's hard when you one of the last ones, want to repeat everything, but if you say something, so sorry. So I'm just gonna clarify, and I have a question.
Can you just state your name and
Oh,
address?
Marisol Kirby, 5971 South Bellevue Avenue.
Thank you.
So just, if we open the door to this per se, I would say, I will get benefit for it because I can sell tobacco on my land. Is that true or not? It can be a possibility in the future. And then right in front of his front house, I don't know if he would like that, me building 2 houses, big houses to sell, as a business, because I'm not a business, I'm a teacher. I'm not a business person, but if he acting like, and I don't want to do it because I like my neighbors. They're so kind and just, they're helping. And during my transition, they were like very helpful. Even the owner sold the property to me, 10,000 less than what he was being offered. Because he said, I want you to live in this house because I know you're gonna take care of it. Sometimes it's a little bit harder. But also, I just wanna say that from the moment I got there, he made my life a little bit hard. He was making sure that I was not welcome. So he shut the door, the back door and the private lane. You cannot walk dogs, you cannot walk people because sometimes he gets so mad. So I don't know. I feel like he bulldozed his way in the neighborhood. So for me, I'm pro progress. If it's something, like my sister said, there are plans and there are like only 2 more houses. You can live with progress, but what if those plans change for me too? I would like to see what he's gonna build for you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sterling Tholen, 1287 West Saxton Place. I appreciate the comments here. I've been through a lot of these meetings throughout my career, and I understand everybody's concerns about change. They think it's going to impact them to the point that it's unreasonable to have or see any change, in this case, new homes. And yes, there's an inconvenience when there's a construction project going on. I think we all been around them, but we all live in homes that have been built and inconvenient somebody else at some point. Just to clarify, I know this isn't where we're discussing design or anything like that, but the parking, it seems to be a real concern, traffic. Obviously, the thought of density is going to be, aesthetically not advantageous to this area. In the design of this, the homes will more than likely have 3-car garages, so that'll allow for 3 additional parking spaces in front of those garages. As well, some of those homes will have RV parking, which will allow for additional parking. I'm not sure everybody has 5 or 6 cars. Some people might, but I think one of the concerns that I've heard here is that it's going to change the neighborhood so dramatically that the quality of life is just going to be diminished. And I think that's, easily stated, but the reality is when the dust settles, the impact will be marginal. You're basically going to add two homes on that street. And so that's just my thought as far as the parking issue and traffic. It sounded to me like people were calculating that there'd be 40, 50 cars in traffic more a day. Maybe that's true, but
30
I
seconds.
doubt it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Casey Butcherite. I grew up at the house 5981 South Bellevue, right next door to the rental properties in discussion. I'm Debbie Black's son. One thing I want to just say about that neighborhood is it's unique than the rest of the other houses in that neighborhood that you showed the map of. Once you get in the neighborhood, there's only 2 streets in the neighborhood, and they're not through streets. Once you get in, you have to loop back out the same way you came in, pretty much. And that keeps the neighborhood a little more distinct than the others. When we talk about adding diversity in housing types, that neighborhood is kind of part of that diversity. It's one of the small pockets of those kind of lots with gardens, with these large houses that I wonder adding multiple smaller houses right next to and right across from and right in front of very large houses, are the people gonna be as happy? Are they gonna, there could be a different neighbor dynamic is all I think about that is they may not fit. As far as concerns about the private lane and the easements there, I understand that concern. Those homeowners have put a lot of money into that lane. But is buying the properties really the only way to control the access to that lane? If there's issues about it, they could be brought up through other matters. And I feel there is enough space on there to already develop those properties further, the whole flag lot idea, but without maybe putting in, not just going for quantity of houses there, but there is space to develop more houses, so development isn't the problem. And I understand there's always gonna be renters. There's plenty of, renters aren't really an issue in my mind. That's always a gamble, the quality of renters you get, but caring for the rental properties can be an issue. And I know the houses that he owns now are old, but I feel, and as my mom had stated, they've been not well maintained. And I know there's been a lot of development over the years, apartments and condos in Murray, and that adds diversity to Murray.
30 seconds.
And on these 2 properties, I also don't see how you can get 4 homes with 3-car garages and RV parking. That just doesn't make sense to me. We don't know what the plan will be, but that doesn't make sense to me either. But those are my thoughts from someone who grew up and has really loved that neighborhood, and still feel a big part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm Heidi Anderson. I live at 417 East Afton Avenue, and we've been there about 22 years now. And I'm just a little confused on the public hearing portion of this. If my letter that I signed.
Could you speak a little closer to the
Sorry,
microphone, please?
sorry.
So everyone
From the
can-
beginning? You got my name?
Yeah, I think we got it.
Sorry. I've just been here for 22 years, and I wanted to state on record, I guess, that I agree with most of the comments that have been here. You mentioned not to repeat anything, but I guess I needed to stand here and say that I'm in agreement with what's been said today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Joanne Hanson. We live at 5980 South Bellevue Ave. We live right across from the Blacks, almost directly across from 5991. We have appreciated the renter at 5991. He was great. However, the concern is rentals and their owners need to observe what their renters are doing. Every morning we get to hear a car with its loud engine and motor fly down our street going at least 35 every morning where our kids are walking to school. The crime rate from 6001 is ridiculous. Please look up on police reports. We have police at that house at least 3 times a week. We have had DEA. We have had SWAT. We have had the crime rate from this home. We all have family. We do not want the crime rate to come up. If he cannot manage his renters, he should not be allowed to build more rental homes. Unfortunately, and you can look up the police record on that home, they know them by their names. It is very sad that we have to worry about the crime rate from his rentals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Egan Fadai, 5926 South Bellevue Avenue. I haven't been here for as long as a lot of, I think, maybe everyone behind me. Been here for a couple of years. We had some health problems in our family. Our apartment building burned down while we were in it. We wanted to move to a space that was quiet and that we could raise our family. We have 2 kids. We live around, I can think of probably 15 to 20 kids that live in the immediate vicinity. And so I appreciate a lot of the concerns that have been raised. Other parts of this, I'm probably more on the fence about, to the extent that the current renters on that property aren't great. I assume that this is a business decision in terms of why it's being subdivided. I think that I imagine those renters will go away because the quality of the house will improve, the rental prices will go up, and the renters, I assume, will move away, which might take care of that issue to the extent it's an issue. So I'm not sure about that part, but I think one thing that I just wanted to raise, aside from reiterating the fact that there is, I think, more traffic than is perfect, and also the lack of sidewalks. I know that it's possible that the city builds sidewalks in the future, but I think that's more of a hope and a prayer rather than a reason to allow this to go ahead. I think my main concern is the lack of information here and the disconnect, as was mentioned earlier, between this part of the procedure and then the actual plan itself. It's really hard to make an informed decision over this when we don't know what's coming, and to the extent that there have already been many rezonings, or whatever the term is, I don't think that's a reason to continue doing it. If anything, it just suggests that the general plan, the general zoning areas have not been adhered to. And I think part of that also is that this analysis that was provided in the packet, this is kind of ties into the fact that it wasn't really an analysis. I mean, I was concerned by, it was more of an opinion piece on why it should go ahead. And maybe that's too strong, but it wasn't an analysis. It didn't provide the pros and cons. And it also, I think, conflated some issues. Like, it's true that the conditional uses and the uses are similar between R16 and R18 and 10, or R18. But the underlying purpose is very different.
Seconds.
And additionally, the 2017 general plan, it talks about protecting the integrity of neighborhoods, protecting the quality of life of a neighborhood. It talks about having a good switch from commercial to residential. And I didn't see any kind of master idea of how that will happen and how this particular change fits into that wider context, which I think is important for us to understand whether or not we should be in support of this.
Thank you. Please, no clapping. Are there any additional in-person comments?
Real quick, Laura Lee Berry, 5941 Bellevue, also 5931 Bellevue. I won't say I just agree with almost everybody here who does not want these lots divided. We moved there 25 years ago because of all the large lots. and it's heaven, it's just great, and I don't want to see that go away. And I agree with, yeah, I'd say 100% of all the people that don't want this to happen, so keep us in mind, thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Colleen Abeta, 397 East Bellevue. One thing that I want to address and have taken into consideration is the map that came up that showed all of the properties that are below 8,000 square feet currently. That doesn't say that they were the R16 properties. That doesn't say that we have that percentage in here. The zoning that was quoted, it was, I believe, 2% in Murray that was actually zoned for R16. What that tells me is that those properties that were built prior to zoning or were not as critical to the zoning shouldn't be taken into consideration. Because even though, suffice it to say, they're surviving in the neighborhood, they're comparable to the larger properties, that doesn't count for the zoning permits. If you change the zoning, we have, if I was reading it correctly, I think there's only a couple of homes in that whole portion of the subdivision where it loops Bellevue up around Afton and then out, that could not fit 2 homes with the new zoning, which means in that area, if the zoning were approved, the potential increase in population just for those streets could triple. Because some of the properties are well large enough to fit 3 or 4. So if this is approved and this goes ahead, and this is something that's approved for all of it, it isn't just the cars, it isn't just the safety of the kids. You know what? I'm a parent. This is my 6th child on the way. And I totally get that we are responsible for our children. We are responsible to make sure that they're road safe. That's fine. I'm not going to criticize the neighborhood for that. But what we bought into Murray for, the environment that we want, I've always said it's a small town in a big city. And that will be gone if we don't have all of those grasses for the future generations to come and play in, if we don't have the smaller feel communities, the closer knit communities, not just because of the rentals, but just density. There's so many areas that are dense. If you want to rent, there's a lot of places in the valley that you can rent that have these accommodations. You can sell the properties and you can buy somewhere else that has the 6,000 square foot requirements, or that already has twin homes, townhomes, different
30
options.
seconds.
So with the property zoning that is there now, you can do what you want with the property within the zoning requirements, but changing it changes Murray. And I don't think that's what any of us bought into Murray for. Thank you.
Thank you.
She may need translation, that's what I'm here.
Okay.
My English is a little bit. My name is Sita Ochoa. I live in 5951 Bellevue in Murray. So please, I like my area. It's very pretty. It's very ¿cómo se quieto? Quiet. It's the Murray is more better. So it's un crime. It's a crime, and there's somebody destroy it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional in-person comments? Okay, let's go to email comments.
Oh, sorry, mic wasn't on. All right, so I'm reading these from oldest to newest. So this one was received on Tuesday, March 19th at 3:30. Dear Murray City Planning Commission, or Planning Committee, we have lived on Afton Avenue in this neighborhood for 17 years now. We have a lot of older homes sitting on large lots. It makes it very difficult for the people in those homes to deal with their properties if they need to, because a small old home on a very large lot presents many obstacles and problems. I've known Paul Dodge for many years, and I have never met anybody more concerned about what is best for the neighborhood as Paul Dodge. The plan he has presented compared to all the other possible options would be the best plan moving forward for him in the neighborhood. There's too much of a trend of taking a small home neighborhood and putting a large, out-of-place, expensive homes on lots that do not seem to fit. It seems to me that Paul thoroughly investigated all possible options, and this does what's best for the neighborhood. I'm firmly in favor of what he is attempting to do. Best regards, Mike Conway, 5962 Afton Avenue. Next one is received March 19th, 8:21 p.m. My name is Patty Dodge. I could not attend the meeting tonight. I reside at 5969 South, 450 East, Murray, Utah. I am a homeowner in the neighborhood being discussed and partner in Down Home LLC, which is the owner of the properties being considered at this meeting. I wish to say that when the home at 5991 South Bellevue was vacated, we decided to keep the two properties together to either sell, fix, or build. There were some interested parties that wanted to buy both lots. Over time, we realized that we would have no say as to how they would be developed or what they would look like. At first, I did not want to build there, but the two existing houses are old and small and require too much to improve them to make them a viable option to sell or rent. When we moved here, and for many years until we found someone to garden the back half of both lots, they were nothing more than mowed down weeds. At looking at both properties, I decided that it would be much more attractive to see some nice single-family homes in the back lots, rather than what they have been for the last 13 years. It would be much easier for us to sell both properties and let someone else do what they want back there. But because this is our neighborhood too, we decided to invest our time and money in making sure that it was an improvement to the neighborhood and community because of the age of the neighborhood. The coming years are sure to bring change. We wanted to make sure that the changes made on those lots were attractive and welcoming to new families and to the existing neighborhoods. Patty Dodge, 5969 South, 450 East. Okay, next one is was received on Wednesday, March 20th at 8:06 a.m. This is Justin Bird from 6120 South, 520 East. I have overlooked Paul Dodger's, proposal and have decided that I feel that it is in the best interest of the neighborhood and surrounding area, and I believe it will improve and add value to our community. Next one, received Wednesday, March 20th, 8:30 a.m. To Planning Commission. I am a neighbor and am not opposed to Paul Dodge building a low-density to medium-density single-family home on his property of 5991 South Bellevue Avenue and 6001 Bellevue Avenue. Gwyn Ainsley, I apologize if I said that wrong, 6005 South, 450 East, Murray, Utah. Excuse me. Next one was received March 20th at 3:56 p.m. Dear Murray Planning Commission, I am the owner of the property at 488 Afton Avenue, and I am writing to express my serious opposition to the proposed change to our neighborhood from low-density to medium-density zoning. It is my understanding that Paul Dodge has made this request in order to tear down the bungalows on his adjoining properties at 5991 and 6001 Bellevue Avenue and build two multiple dwelling buildings on each. I'm opposed to this proposal, as are many other residents, for the following reasons. One, large modern structures such as townhomes are not in keeping with the nature and historical value of the neighborhood. Two, multiple dwellings such as townhomes would increase traffic and create congestion. Apparently, Mr. Dodge is not planning to allow access to the proposed structures from the existing lane at 450 East. That means a single driveway entrance on Bellevue Avenue would need to accommodate both multiple units on each property. This would have a serious negative impact on garbage pickup, snow removal, and parking. There are innumerable buyers who would like to purchase the types of homes already located on these properties. They could improve the homes with plumbing and electrical upgrades while maintaining the historical value of the area. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Please consider doing your part to prevent the further defacement of historical homes and neighborhoods for the short-term profit of a few property owners. Sincerely, Melissa Genow, G-E-N-A, Genow, sorry, Genow. Okay, next one was March 20th at 4:15 PM. My name is Brian Peak, and my wife Elizabeth Peak and I reside at 6006 South, that sounded funny, Bellevue Avenue. We are responding to the proposed zoning change for the properties at 5991 and 6001 Bellevue Avenue. We cannot support the proposal as it is detrimental to our neighborhood. I understand from Mr. Dodge that the property will be a group of townhomes. I'm told that there will not be a street from Bellevue to the lane at 450 East, but rather a driveway without curb and gutter to serve the dwellings. The increased traffic as well as garbage pickup and snow removal apparently have not been addressed. It was distressing to hear that no road would infringe upon the homes on 450 East, but leaves the problems for our neighborhood to deal with. We cannot support this proposal if the properties involved don't generate the income the owner desires, then sell it to those who would love to improve the homes that exist. We say no, any change to the use of the property needs to benefit our neighborhood, not a business interest. Brian and Elizabeth Peak, 6006 Bellevue Avenue. Next was received today, March 21st at 11:35 a.m. Dear Planning Commissioners, I own a home at 5962 South Afton Avenue, which is 642 feet from the proposed project. I have lived here since 2004 and have noticed that Murray City has grown by at least 5,000 people in that time. This represents an increase of 11% from 45,000 to 50,000 in 2022. These people have to live somewhere, and I would rather entertain a small growth project in my neighborhood involving 1 to 4 homes rather than the large apartment block projects of 50 to 100 people that I see in other parts of Murray, as well as Midvale and South Salt Lake. I know Paul Dodge is a kind and sensitive landlord who will consider community feedback in his project, design, and aesthetic, and I would much rather have single-family homes built in my neighborhood rather than condos or apartments. I trust Paul Dodge to build homes that will blend in with the neighborhood and retain the spirit of Murray as a city without equal. You are welcome to contact me regarding this correspondence via return email or phone. Valine Afualo, 5962 South Afton Avenue. Next one was received today at 1:15 p.m. Hi, my name is Corey Lanes. My wife and I own and live in our house on Afton Avenue. I'm writing in regards to the public hearing to discuss zoning changes for the lots listed above. I am concerned about increasing density on our streets for 2 reasons. 1, increased car traffic on roads without sidewalks and that are used by neighborhood children and families to play, walk, and go to school. An increase in car traffic on our streets without sidewalks, I feel, is something that needs to be seriously considered. 2, I know one initiative of the city has been to increase home ownership opportunities in Murray. I am concerned that with this increase in density, it will just lead to 2 additional rental units on our street that are poorly looked after and impact the safety of our street and the value of our homes. The current houses on the land are very poorly looked after and are both rental units. I am concerned with this zoning change, it will just be more of the same. If this zoning change happens, I believe the houses put in should be sold to families/owners that will own and live in them. Otherwise, additional rental homes on our street is something I would not be in favor of. Thank you for your time and consideration, Corey. Okay, next one received at 1:19 p.m. today. As a homeowner in the Afton and Bellevue Avenue neighborhood, I am opposed to the proposed zoning change for the properties located at 5991 and 6001 Bellevue Avenue. These properties should remain single-family, low-density lots. I live at 386 Bellevue Avenue, Murray, Utah. One of the reasons we chose this home just over 5 years ago was because the design of the neighborhood allows minimal traffic, making it ideal to raise our son in. We can easily let him ride his bike, scooter, or skateboard around the block/loop, and encounter minimal traffic. The neighborhood does not have any sidewalks, so the kids in the neighborhood are often riding bikes around the loop in the road. We have minimal traffic, which makes this mostly safe. With increased housing options on the street, there will be increased cars, require 2 spaces per dwelling. The average home has roughly 2 or more cars. If you take a moment and visit our neighborhood, you would see and understand how huge of an impact this would be. The resulting increased traffic would be hazardous to those of us and our kids who walk, bike, and run throughout the neighborhood with no sidewalks. I have additional concerns over where they would park, along with additional burdens our street would face. Beyond the practical concerns that increased density brings, i.e. traffic, power, electrical, fire response, I am concerned that any new medium density would cram in houses on these narrow lots, resulting in the designs not being consistent with the look and feel of our neighborhood. In addition, as far as I can tell, there are no medium density lots approved in this neighborhood or any of the surrounding properties / neighborhood. See Figure 2, Future Land Use Map on page 38 of the meeting packet. There are locations within Murray where approving these kinds of zoning changes make sense, and I would fully support. The Afton Bellevue neighborhood is not that location. The overall goal of Chapter 5, Land Use and Urban Design element, is to provide and promote a mix of land uses and development patterns that support the healthy community comprised of livable neighborhoods, vibrant economic districts, and appealing open spaces. By denying this zoning change, you will be supporting a livable neighborhood. Adding housing does not increase the livability of this neighborhood. One of the most appealing factors of this neighborhood is our large lots. We are an oasis tucked into the city, and any modifications to the lots will change that feel. As a resident of this neighborhood, I oppose any zoning change to the Bellevue and Afton neighborhood lots. Please protect the uniqueness of this neighborhood by voting no to rezoning 5991 South Bellevue and 6001 Bellevue Avenue as proposed. Thank you for your consideration, Tara Rossland. Sorry, I need a drink of water. Okay. And last one is received today at 4:08 p.m. Public comment for zoning proposal at 5991 South Bellevue Avenue and 6001 Bellevue Avenue for a meeting held at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, March 21st. I am in support of the zoning change from R18 to R16. This allows additional units of housing which the city and state are in desperate need of, while still being residential and maintaining a great neighborhood feel. This is not a dramatic change and is in line with other projects seen around the city of Murray. I think this would be the best fit for the parcels in question and welcome this zoning change in our neighborhood. Ryan Stock didn't provide an address. And that's all we have.
So we haven't received any during.
I have not received any.
Okay. Then I will close the public comment portion. And Susan, if we can go through and address some of these.
Yes, we have.
Questions.
I have a list here. Hopefully I made notes of all the comments or concerns that we can respond to. Let's see. First of all, just to clarify again, this proposal would not allow for multifamily or townhomes. It's not allowed in the R16 zone. Construction of any potential new homes, as Sterling Tholen referred to earlier, who's a contractor, yes, construction is always an inconvenience for some of us when there is being a house built next to you, but we all live in homes. We always all inconvenience someone previously. However, there are some regulations that we come into play when there is construction, such as dust mitigation, et cetera. Hours of operating or constructing have to be within 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., et cetera. So there are some limitations they have when the construction is underway. Let's see. It was referred to the difficulties associated with flag lots, such as the front yard of one home faces the backyard of another. That is very true, no doubt. But, you know, when you buy a home on a flag lot, that's kind of what you're buying. So just, you know, be aware of what you're buying, I guess is what I want to say. And they do have longer driveways, obviously, because it is a private drive accessing down the side of another home. Flag lots is a permitted use and actually throughout the entire valley, so we're not unique to that. In fact, there are 3 flag lots in this subdivision currently. Let's see.
Susan, could you maybe at the same time address some people's questions about if, like, what the requirements for a flag lot would be and if other properties in this neighborhood, if they meet those requirements,
Yeah.
what that means for them.
Yes, sure. So there are three, and unfortunately, I didn't bring a map showing where they are, but two of them I know, well, at least the one on the west side of Bellevue predates our current flag lot regulations. You are only allowed one flag lot per existing dwelling. And it does require a 28-foot access way to the flag, to the new home, 28 feet wide, it's 20 feet of hard asphalt, and 4 feet of landscaping on each side. So there are some requirements, and as the engineer referred to earlier, it does require 125% of the underlining zone for the minimum area for a flag lot. So in this case, 8,000 is the standard minimum lot size, but if you were to have a flag lot, you would be required to have 10,000 square feet.
But if a property can meet those requirements, they would be able to do a flag lot.
Yes, sorry. And one thing I should have included when I was comparing the R18 and the R16 on this chart, and I didn't think about it. Another difference is the R18, 8,000 square foot lot requires a minimum 80-foot width at the setback, the 25-foot front setback. For an interior lot, in the R16, it requires a 60-foot minimum lot width. So that is another difference. They can be a little bit narrower. And Mr. Dodge's properties currently are legal non-conforming to the current R18 zone as far as the lot width. They are less than the 80 feet. Let's see, let me go back to. Oh, yes, yeah, I was going to get to that one. Someone mentioned, why can't these new proposed lots, if the zoning is approved, why can't they access off of 450 East? 450 East is a private lane. Our code was changed, and I think it was about 2008, that prohibits any new creation of single-family lots on a private road, period. They are not allowed. So it is not possible to have another lot or parcel created that accesses off of 450 East. And that's been, I think it's been that way for several years. Let's see.
Susan, is that in Murray ordinances, that can't happen from private lane?
Correct. That's in our subdivision code.
And
Yes.
that can't be changed?
Well, there cannot, you never say never, you know what I mean? But that was a very, that was an issue that was discussed extensively. We held numerous meetings, and it was studied for over a year. I remember that. And we just, it was the will of the elected officials and actually many of the city departments that being able to build new lots or create lots on a private lane is just, it has its issues. You know, I could go on that for a long time, but that was a highly researched and studied and many meetings held in order to come to that conclusion.
So possible, but not likely.
So, yeah, so to answer your question, yes, someone could petition, I guess, again, and it's been brought up several times, and it's still the same opinion as of today, anyway.
Yeah, I would just mention on that there are still some groups of people that come about yearly, usually after an election, and ask to change those standards. And Murray, to this date, has still said we wouldn't support changes to that.
But when we say state arguments like that, I like to hear, we shouldn't get in the weeds in this discussion, because it's off topic, but when we state things like that, it'd be nice to say the negatives to it, why that decision was made. But it's off topic, so.
Well, like I said, I could go on that for a long time, but I guess it is kind of off the topic. That is in the subdivision code.
Yeah. There's at least 6 topics that kept coming up over and over again. Renters, which we hate them. Parking, traffic, sidewalks, townhomes, and condos. Is there the opportunity, not knowing the project at all, but if this is R16, can I build townhomes or condos on this property?
No.
Is there a chance that the 2 houses, if whatever's built on this, if they're houses, is there a chance the city could require they put sidewalks in?
They will have to dedicate a portion of the front property over to the city. Well, actually, it's already there, excuse me. the right-of-way is 60 feet. So what appears to be the front yard of the properties
Is it right away?
isn't really accurate because there's no sidewalk there.
So there's potential in the building when a project's brought to the proper committees and commissions, that part of the building, the city could require they put sidewalks in. We don't know what the project is, but that could be discussed.
Could, but I highly doubt that would happen, only because there would only be two properties that would have sidewalks that went nowhere. Now, if they decide to do a special improvement district, something like that, that's different, and that is a possibility.
Please,
So
please do not call out.
So traffic, parking, renters.
Okay, so parking, single-family homes, our parking regulations only require 2 spaces per home, period. For an apartment, we require 2.5, but again, apartments are not allowed. I'm just telling you the difference there. We actually require more for an apartment than we do a single family. Whether or not people have 5 or 6 vehicles, hopefully they're respectful of others and park on their own property and not infringe on the neighbors, et cetera.
Hey, Susan, before you get to the next one, in our limited government city that we have, in which we respect homeowners and private property, can you dictate to me whether I can have renters or if I have to live on my property? Is there any of our residential codes that dictates whether it can be a renter or not?
Our code do allow for a single-family home to be rented as a single-family home, meaning they share common cooking facilities. It's one unit
So
and
I-
not split up into different rooms with different kitchens, et cetera, et cetera.
So there's nothing in our laws, and we've had this in other discussions where I didn't want the townhomes to be rented, but I cannot look to anybody in this room and tell them they cannot rent their property. It's just not, it's against our laws.
That is
right?
correct. We can't, I hate to use the word discriminate, but we can't prohibit someone from renting.
The renting
Their home.
discussion confused me a little bit because I don't know what we're renting. We don't have a project
Right.
yet, but
And
We're
it's
just
not-
considering any use
Yeah.
that could be on an R16
Right.
project.
And I would say it's not just city or state law, it's.
Federal.
It's federal housing act.
okay, so you said parking, you said renters, traffic?
So traffic, a single-family home per ITE standards generates average 10 trips per day for a single-family home. So we're talking maybe 20 vehicles. And again, that's just the International Traffic Engineering, sorry, I forgot what it's called, standards for, trip generation for single-family homes. So potentially 20 trips per day.
Please do not speak out. The public comment period is closed.
Oh,
Thank
someone
you.
made a comment that the Planning Commission has already recommended approval. No, what you see before you is the staff recommendation. We are recommending to the Planning Commission. Planning Commission will make their own
And can you just maybe, I feel like it was also talked about, like, why are there no pros and cons listed in the staff report? And so can you maybe talk about how, if a project can meet the requirements, how you come to a conclusion of recommending or denying?
Well, sure. So when we get the application, we look to see if it's even, given the intent of what the applicant is wanting to do with it, we have to look at it to see if it's even possible. Because we certainly, as staff, don't want to bring something to the Planning Commission and hold these meetings all to find out, oh, gosh, we should have looked at it. There's not enough area to subdivide this or what have you. So we do have to look at it to say, okay, given your request, if the request was approved, it looks like it could meet the requirements of that zone. So yes, we did look at that, but again, we have not looked at a specific plan or what have you. It's not included with this proposal. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. It's just that if they can meet the requirements of the zoning, right, then what is our obligation, I guess?
Right,
is-
thank you. Yes, if property owners have obviously certain rights to their property. If you can develop your property according to the underlying zoning regulations and requirements, we are obligated to approve that. So if Mr. Dodge could meet the zoning requirements, we are obligated to approve that.
Which are the same rights that are allowed to any property owner in this area.
And I think the point in saying that is some things I don't like, but if I voice my own opinion, then they can sue us and then spend my tax dollars to have them win because it meets our code. Right?
Just to clarify, a rezone or zone map amendment is a legislative action. So it is totally up to the elected officials. Unlike a development of a property, meaning to build a single-family home or whatever, if that is part of our code and a permitted use, we are required to approve it if they can meet the regulations and codes of that zoning. So it is different. It's legislative versus administrative.
So if they wanted to voice more opinion in a legislative setting, that would be with the city council at the next meeting.
Correct, yes. Yeah, as I mentioned, this is a first step in this process. Planning Commission is just a recommending body to the city council, who they are the ones that will make the decision ultimately. So just going through the list of the comments or concerns that were expressed earlier. Someone made a comment about a PUD, where a PUD allows for single-family attached homes. That is a conditional use in the R16 zone. However, you have to have a minimum of 2 acres in order to have a PUD. So that's not a possibility for this property. If the, say this city council approved the zoning, et cetera, and Mr. Dodge does then decide he wants to subdivide it, there would be another public hearing with the Planning Commission that you all would receive notices of that for whatever he would propose. If it was subdivision, flag lot, whatever it is, you would get a notice on that. And there would be another public hearing that you could come and see what he would be proposing.
Susan, can you define a PUD for the audience?
Oh, sorry. That's a planned unit development. So typically, it's like one that's townhomes, and there's open space, there's amenities to it, et cetera. Yeah, those are allowed in most residential zones, but they are a conditional use, and they do have a lot of strict regulations that they have to meet. And again, that requires a minimum 2 acres in order to even
And
do one.
PUDs have come to us with houses, and not just townhomes, but it was on a piece of property bigger than 2 acres, right?
Yeah, right.
Or at least 2 acres.
At least 2 acres, yeah. I think that's all the notes that I made as far as comments or concerns.
What about, somebody asked, is this zone change applicable to the whole area?
Oh, good, thanks. No, this particular request is specifically only to Mr. Dodge's property. The zoning is only for those two, not anybody else. You, as a property owner, would have to petition if you wanted to do a zone change. It does, yeah.
Right, which if a property owner wanted to, they could do.
Yes, they could.
Any other questions or comments from the public comment portion that you'd like answered by Susan? No? Is there any further discussion for the commission?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
More, it may not be appropriate, but we can make can we make a recommendation?
Wait, just will you speak close? Yeah.
Sorry. Can we make a recommendation with conditions?
No.
Do you want to talk more about what's concerning you? What about the project
What
isn't meeting?
conditions, maybe?
Some of the concerns that were brought forward today are very legitimate,
Mm-hmm.
and there may be a disconnect as to what this commission's role is versus who ultimately makes approval, correct? And that's kind of where the detail and the specific building plans, and that's where that's ferreted out, correct?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's where the details could be more investigated.
Yes.
Okay.
Which
That's
I
what I'm
know
saying.
is frustrating, to have the zoning looked at independently of any kind of project. And I know that Zach kind of mentioned it, but I've been on the commission long enough that I have seen that happen, right? Somebody came in and said, this is what we're building, this is what we're doing. Everyone got excited about that project. Their funding fell through and they didn't develop that project, right? So I know that it's so hard to look at something independent of what it potentially will be. But it's actually a very sound decision on the part of the city to not promise something that is not gonna get delivered, right? And so we are only looking at, is this worth forwarding a recommendation, again, to the city council, who will make this decision? Is an R16, single-family, low-density residential, consistent with the general plan for this property? So I know the concerns are valid, and I know how frustrating that is. But we, I think as a commission, look very specifically at, we look at zoning all the time in all of these places. And so I think, even though it feels uncomfortable, I think that we have experience at what the zoning specific change without more details looks like.
I have a couple comments, Madam Chairman.
Yeah.
So we know that this is gonna be single-family homes. We know that if it gets developed at all. Value, I think some of you expressed your concern that this would perhaps decrease value of your property. And I think I can speak for the whole commission that what we've seen in the past is it doesn't decrease the value of your properties. Seen that in a number of different neighborhoods. Again, like to reiterate renting. The street that I live on has a number of rentals. And I can tell you, you can't know what you're gonna get. There are several of them that are wonderful renters and a couple that are not so good. Anybody in this neighborhood can change their property from an ownership to a rental property. So that you're not gonna ever change. I think this could have some good value for the neighborhood. Is it gonna set a precedent? There are already people or properties in this area that can have flag lots on their properties. There are some bigger lots. So, change is happening all over Murray. And I, like some of you, I like to see what Murray was years ago. And I like to keep those neighborhoods. But, as I said, people move out, people die, their properties are purchased, they're changed to rental properties, and neighborhoods change just by the mere fact that years go by. So, thank you.
Any other thoughts or discussion?
I'm hesitant to say, but I've said on the record, I don't like flag lots. But at the same time, if I had an acre and my poor kids couldn't afford to live anywhere and they wanted to live in Murray, I'd be so excited to be able to give them land to build their house on. And I think that's the intent of flag lots, and no one's mentioned that today. The intent is so that you can use your land to benefit your kids. Or, that's one option, but anyway. It's just a different perspective on flag lots.
Any further discussion, or I'll entertain a motion?
Madam Chairman, I make a recommendation that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation to of approval to the City Council for the requested amendment to the zoning map designation of the properties located at 5991 and 6001 South Bellevue Avenue from R18 Single Family Low Density Residential to R16 Single Family Low/Medium Density Residential, because it is consistent with the general plan as described in the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right. I have a motion by Commissioner Hacker and a second by Commissioner Hursto. I'll get it. To forward a recommendation of approval to the city council for the requested amendment to the zoning map designation of the properties located at 5991 and 6001 South Bellevue Ave from R18 Single Family Low Density Residential to R16 Single Family Low Density Low Medium Density Residential because it is consistent with the general plan as described in the staff report. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, we'll call for a roll call vote.
Okay, Commissioner Milkovich,
Yes.
Commissioner Richards,
Yes.
Commissioner Haristo,
Yes?
Commissioner Hacker,
Yes.
and Chair Patterson.
Yes. So that will get forwarded to the city council. You'll also be noticed for that meeting at the city council, as well as any additional plans that come forward. You will be noticed for those projects as well. Is there any additional business?
I think we're just having a April 4th meeting.
Yeah.
That should be it.
I'd like to address the rest of the people before they all leave. Thank you for coming and providing your comments. They're very, very thought-provoking. We all live in neighborhoods all around Murray, and we appreciate your being here tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Hacker. Okay, with no further business, I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn at 8:35.
Awesome. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion, meeting adjourned. Thank you.